The ship moved slowly toward the massive space station. Inside, Ambassador looked through the window with wide eyes. She had never seen anything so big in her entire life. The Galactic Council Station was larger than any city on Earth. It floated in space like a small moon made of metal and glass. Captain stood next to her. He was a tall man with short black hair and calm eyes. He had been in space for 15 years, but even he felt nervous today. This was the first time humans would meet the Galactic Council. Every alien species in the known galaxy had a seat on this council. Today, humanity would introduce itself to the universe. "Are you ready?" asked. Took a deep breath. "I have to be," she said. The ship landed inside a huge docking bay. When the doors opened and stepped out with their small team, the air inside the station smelled strange, like flowers mixed with metal. The lights were soft and blue. Everything looked clean and perfect. Waiting for them was a group of aliens. Had seen pictures before, but seeing them in person was different. There were tall ones with gray skin and 4 arms. There were short ones covered in soft fur. There were some that looked like walking plants and others that seemed to be made of light. At the front of the group stood Coordinator Vel. He was from a species called the. His skin was pale blue, and his eyes were large and black like deep pools of water. He had no nose, only 2 small holes above his thin mouth. His body was thin and delicate, like he might break if someone touched him too hard. "Welcome to the Galactic Council Station," Vel said. His voice was soft and musical. "We are honored to meet the species called humans." Bowed her head slightly. "Thank you, Coordinator Vel. We are honored to be here. Humanity has dreamed of this moment for a very long time." Vel made a gesture with his 4-fingered hand. "Please, come with us. We have prepared a welcome ceremony in the Great Hall." The group walked through long corridors. Aliens of many species stopped to look at the humans. Some whispered to each other. Others pointed with various limbs and appendages. Tried to smile at everyone, but she noticed something strange. Many of the aliens looked at the humans with curiosity, but also with something else. Was it confusion? Fear? The Great Hall was enormous. Hundreds of aliens sat in curved rows of seats that went up toward the ceiling. In the center was a raised platform where and her team would stand. Bright lights shone down on them from above. Coordinator Vel began to speak. He introduced the humans to the council. He talked about Earth, about human history, about their journey to the stars. The aliens listened carefully. Everything was going well. Then it happened. The lights in the Great Hall were very bright. Small particles of dust floated in the air. One of those particles found its way into his nose. She felt a tickle. Then the tickle became stronger. Her nose began to twitch. She tried to stop it. She pressed her finger under her nose. She held her breath. But it was no use. The sneeze was coming and nothing could stop it. HFY. The sound exploded from his mouth and nose. It echoed through the Great Hall like thunder. Her whole body shook with the force of it. Her eyes closed tight for just a moment. When she opened her eyes again, the hall was silent. Every single alien was frozen in place. Coordinator Vel had fallen backward and was lying on the floor. Other aliens were hiding behind their seats. Some were running toward the exits. One species had changed color from green to bright purple, which would later learn was a sign of extreme terror. What was that?" Vel asked. His voice was shaking. He was still on the floor, looking at like she had just fired a weapon. Felt her face become hot with embarrassment. "I am so sorry," she said quickly. "That was just a sneeze. It happens when something irritates our nose. It is completely normal for humans." "Normal?" Another alien spoke. This one was tall with silver scales covering its body. "You just expelled air from your body at extremely high velocity. Our sensors detected wind speeds of over 100 kilometers per hour coming from your face." Stepped forward to help explain. "Yes, that is correct. A sneeze can be quite powerful, but I promise you it is harmless. Humans sneeze many times throughout their lives, sometimes several times in one day. The scaled alien made a sound of disbelief. Several times in one day, and you survive this. Of course, said, a sneeze does not hurt us at all. The aliens began to whisper among themselves. Vel slowly stood up, still keeping his distance from the humans. He looked at them with new eyes, eyes full of confusion and wonder. Forgive me, Vel said carefully, but I must ask, how is this possible? On my world, expelling air at such force would destroy our internal organs. Our bodies are not built to survive such violent events. Did not know what to say. She had never thought about sneezing as violent before. It was just something bodies did. A small alien with large ears and soft brown fur raised its hand. I have studied many species in the galaxy. No other species has this ability. Most species that experience sudden pressure changes in their respiratory systems die instantly. Die asked, from a sneeze. From anything like a sneeze, yes, the furry alien said. The fact that humans can do this and remain perfectly healthy is, I do not have words for it. Looked at her team. They all seemed just as surprised as she was. They had come here to make friends with the galaxy. Instead, they had terrified an entire council with a simple sneeze. Coordinator Vel took a careful step toward the humans. I think, he said slowly, that we need to learn much more about human physiology. It seems you are very different from any species we have ever encountered. Nodded. We would be happy to share information about our bodies. But I warn you, Coordinator, if a sneeze surprised you this much, I am not sure you are ready to learn about the other things human bodies can do. Vel's large black eyes grew even larger. There is more. Could not help but smile, much more. The great hall fell silent once again. Every alien in the room was staring at the humans with a mixture of fear, curiosity, and something that looked almost like respect. Humanity's introduction to the galaxy had just begun, and already they had made an impression that no one would ever forget. 3 days had passed since the sneeze incident. The aliens of the Galactic Council were still nervous around the humans, but they were also very curious. They wanted to learn more about these strange creatures from the small blue planet called Earth. Coordinator Vel had arranged a tour of the station for the human delegation. He wanted to show them the science laboratories, the food production centers, and the medical facilities. It was meant to be a peaceful and educational day. Captain walked at the front of the group with Vel. Behind them came Ambassador and the ship's doctor, a young woman named, had soft features and gentle hands. She had been a doctor for 10 years, and she had joined this mission to help if any crew member got sick in space. The tour was going well. Vel explained how the station made food from basic elements. He showed them machines that could create almost anything from raw materials. The humans were impressed by the advanced technology. Then they entered the engineering section. The engineering section was full of machines and tools. Large pipes ran along the walls. Metal panels covered the floor. Workers from many different species moved around, fixing things and checking systems. Was very interested in the engineering. He leaned close to look at a machine that recycled water. He wanted to see how it worked, but as he leaned forward, his hand touched a sharp edge of metal. Pulled his hand back quickly. A thin line of red appeared on his palm. Blood began to flow from the cut. It was not a deep wound, just a small cut that would heal in a few days. Looked at it with mild annoyance. He had been careless. But when he looked up, he saw that every alien in the room had stopped moving. They were all staring at his hand with expressions of pure horror. Coordinator Vel's blue face had turned almost white. His large eyes were fixed on the blood dripping from his palm. His thin body was shaking. You are leaking, Vel whispered. Looked at his hand, then back at Vel. Yes, I cut myself. It is just a small wound, nothing serious. Nothing serious. A tall alien with 6 legs ran toward them. You are losing your internal fluids. We must get you to the medical center immediately. Every second counts. Before could respond, alarms began to sound throughout the engineering section. Red lights flashed on the walls. Aliens were running in all directions, shouting in languages the translator could not keep up with. Please remain calm, tried to say, but no one was listening. Within minutes, a medical team arrived. They were wearing protective suits as if they were dealing with a dangerous disease. They surrounded and tried to put him on a floating stretcher. This is really not necessary, said. He held up his hand. Look, the bleeding is already slowing down. Everyone stopped. The medical team leader was a creature that looked like a tall bird with blue feathers. Its name was, and it had been a doctor for over 50 years, leaned close to look its hand. The bleeding was indeed slowing down. The blood was becoming thick and sticky at the edges of the cut. What is happening? Asked. Its voice was high and filled with confusion. Stepped forward. May I explain? I am the human medical officer. Nodded slowly, still staring at the wound. When humans get cut, said in a calm voice, our blood does this automatically. We have something in our blood called platelets. When we are injured, the platelets rush to the wound. They stick together and form a barrier. This stops the bleeding. We call it clotting. The silence that followed was heavy. Every alien in the room was looking at like she had just said something impossible. You mean, said slowly, that your body repairs itself without any medical intervention? For small wounds, yes, said. Our bodies can heal many injuries on their own. Cuts, bruises, even broken bones will heal over time. Sat down on the floor. The tall bird-like alien simply sat down, as if its legs could no longer hold its weight. Other aliens were making sounds of disbelief. Some were checking their translators, thinking there must be an error. Coordinator Vel approached very carefully. He looked at the wound, which had now almost completely stopped bleeding. A thin layer of dried blood covered the cut like a protective shield. In my species, Vel said quietly, if we are cut and begin to bleed, we must receive immediate medical treatment. Our blood does not clot. It continues to flow until there is none left. A wound like yours would kill one of my people in less than 1 hour. Felt a chill run down his spine. He had never thought about it before. Clotting was just something blood did. He had never considered that other species might not have this ability. Is this true for all species in the galaxy? Asked. Stood up slowly. Most species have some form of healing, but nothing like this. Some species can seal wounds, but it requires conscious effort and great energy. The idea that your body does this automatically, without any thought or effort, is unprecedented. Nodded. There is more. Human skin can regrow completely. If cut is kept clean, new skin will grow over it within a week. In a month, there might not even be a scar. New skin, one of the 6-legged aliens spoke. Your skin grows back. Yes, and not just skin. Our bones can heal if they break. Our muscles rebuild themselves if they are damaged. Even some of our organs can repair themselves to a degree. The aliens looked at each other. Their expressions showed that they were struggling to understand what they were hearing. When we first saw humans, Coordinator Vel said, we thought you were fragile. You have no hard shell to protect you. You have no natural weapons like claws or fangs. Your skin is soft and easily damaged. We thought you must be one of the weakest species in the galaxy. He paused and looked its hand again. The wound was now just a thin red line, barely visible. But now I see that we were wrong. You do not need armor because your body can repair itself. You do not fear injury because injury is only temporary for you. This changes everything we thought we knew about humans. Flexed his hand. It still hurt a little, but he knew it would be fine in a few days. He had never thought of his healing ability as special. Every human had it. It was just normal. but looking at the faces of the aliens around him, he realized that what was normal for humans was impossible for the rest of the galaxy. "I think," said with a small smile, "that we have much to teach each other." Made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Indeed, but I warn you, Ambassador, every time we learn something new about humans, we become more confused and more impressed." The medical team put away their equipment. The alarms were turned off. The engineering section slowly returned to normal, but the way the aliens looked at the humans had changed forever. They no longer saw soft, fragile creatures from a small planet. They saw beings who could survive what no other species could survive, beings whose bodies could heal themselves without any help. And they wondered, not for the last time, what else humans were capable of. The alarm came in the middle of the night cycle. Red lights flashed throughout the station. A loud voice announced the emergency in 12 different languages. Something had gone very wrong. Coordinator Vel rushed to the command center. His thin body moved quickly through the corridors. When he arrived, the room was full of worried officers from many species. "What is the situation?" Vel demanded. A small alien with green skin and large eyes answered. "One of the main power cores is failing. If we do not repair it within 16 hours, the entire eastern section of the station will lose life support. Over 10,000 beings live in that section." Vel felt cold fear in his chest. "How long will the repairs take?" "Our engineers estimate 12 to 14 hours of continuous work, but that is the problem." The green alien's voice was heavy with worry. "No species on this station can work that long without rest. They can work for 4 hours before needing sleep. They can work for 6. Even the strongest species, can only work for 8 hours before their bodies shut down from exhaustion." Vel understood the problem. They would need to use multiple shifts of engineers, passing the work from one team to another. But changing teams would cause delays. Mistakes might be made. They might not finish in time. "What about the humans?" someone asked. Vel turned. He had not thought of the humans. They had only been on the station for 1 week. He knew they were strange, but could they help with something like this? "Send a message to the human ship," Vel ordered. "Ask if they have any engineers." The answer came quickly. Yes, the humans had an engineer. His name was, and he was one of the best on Earth. He was willing to help. Arrived at the damaged power core 30 minutes later. He was a man of average height with strong arms and quick eyes. He carried a bag of tools and a large container of brown liquid that he called coffee. The lead engineer on the project was big and covered in thick gray skin. His species was known for being the hardest workers in the galaxy. He looked at with respect but also with concern. "Human," said, "this work will take many hours. You should prepare to rest. I will wake you when it is your turn to work." Smiled and took a drink of his coffee. "Do not worry about me. Just show me what needs to be done." The work began. The power core was a massive machine, as big as a building. Parts of it were broken and needed to be replaced. Other parts needed to be fixed carefully by hand. It was hard work that required focus and precision. Worked alongside the alien engineers. He learned their systems quickly. His hands moved with skill and confidence. Hour after hour, he worked without stopping. After 4 hours, the engineers had to leave. They were exhausted. Their eyes could not stay open. They went asleep and new engineers came to take their place. Kept working. He drank more coffee. After 6 hours, the engineers reached their limit. Their bodies were shaking from tiredness. They apologized and went to rest. Kept working. He ate a small meal and drank more coffee. After 8 hours, even they had to stop. His gray skin had turned pale. His movements were slow and clumsy. He could barely speak. "Human," said with difficulty, "I must rest. I cannot continue. You should rest too. Another team will come soon." Looked at with surprise. "Rest? But we are almost finished with this section. If I stop now, the next team will have to figure out where I left off. It will waste time." Stared at, the human showed no signs of tiredness. His eyes were bright. His hands were steady. He was still working at full speed. How are you still awake?" asked. Held up his container. "Coffee. It helps humans stay alert." Had never heard of coffee. What is this substance? It is a drink made from roasted beans. It contains caffeine, which makes our brains more active and fights tiredness. His eyes went wide. He grabbed a nearby computer and searched for information about caffeine. What he found made his blood run cold. "Human," shouted. "Caffeine is a Class 3 toxic substance. It is a poison that attacks the nervous system. How much of this have you consumed?" Thought for a moment. "Maybe 5 cups, 6, I have not been counting." Looked like he might faint. 5 or 6 doses of a Class 3 toxin and you are still alive. You are still working. "Caffeine is not toxic to humans," explained calmly. "Well, not in normal amounts. It would take much more than this to hurt me. Many humans drink coffee every day. Some drink it many times a day." Slowly sat down on the floor. He was too shocked to stand. The strongest species in the galaxy, and he could not match this human who drank poison for energy. Patted on the shoulder. "Go rest, my friend. I will continue the work. Send the next team when they are ready, but do not rush. I can handle this for a while longer." Left. He went straight to Coordinator Vel and told him what he had seen. Vel could not believe it. He went to the power core himself to watch. And there was, still working, still drinking his poison coffee, still showing no signs of stopping. 9 hours passed, 10 hours, 11 hours. Engineers came and went. Teams rotated in and out, but never left. He worked through the entire emergency without taking a single break. After 12 hours and 23 minutes, the repairs were complete. The power core hummed back to life. The eastern section of the station was saved. 10,000 beings would not die today. The engineers cheered. They celebrated. They hugged each other and cried with relief. Finished his last cup of coffee and stretched his arms above his head. "That was a good workout," he said with a yawn. "I might actually get some sleep now." Coordinator Vel approached. His large eyes were full of amazement. "Human, you have worked for over 12 hours without stopping. You have consumed a substance that would kill most species, and you call this a workout." Shrugged. 12 hours is not so bad. Back on Earth, some humans work even longer when they need to. We call them all-nighters. Students do them all the time before exams. Vel did not know what to say. He had lived for over 200 years. He had met thousands of species. He had never met anything like humans. "Your species," Vel said slowly, "drinks poison for energy and works without rest for half a day. Is there no limit to what your bodies can endure?" Thought about the question seriously. "I am sure there are limits, but honestly, Coordinator, I think we just have not found them yet. Humans are very good at pushing past what we think is possible." He smiled and walked toward his quarters to sleep. Behind him, the alien engineers watched him go. They had just witnessed something they would tell their children about. They had worked with a being who treated poison like water and exhaustion like a minor inconvenience. The story of and the 12-hour repair spread across the station like fire. And once again, the galaxy had to update its understanding of what humans were capable of. The answer, it seemed, was almost anything. 2 weeks after the power core emergency, life on the station had returned to normal. The humans had become small celebrities among the alien species. Everyone wanted to meet the beings who could sneeze like storms, heal like magic, and work like machines. But today, something was wrong with was the youngest member of the human crew. She was a communications officer with a bright smile and a talent for learning alien languages. She had made many friends on the station. Everyone liked her. But this morning did not feel well. Her head hurt. Her body ached. She felt cold even though the temperature in her room was comfortable. When she looked in the mirror, her face was red and sweaty. She went to see doctor. Examined carefully, she checked her temperature and frowned. You have a fever, 39 degrees, probably a minor infection. Your body is fighting something. Will I be okay? Asked. Smiled warmly. Of course. Rest and drink lots of water. Your fever should break in a day or two. I will check on you regularly. Nodded and went back to her room to rest. What neither she nor realized was that alien friend, a small creature named Pix, had been watching from the doorway. Pix had large ears and excellent hearing. Pix had heard everything. And Pix was terrified. Within 1 hour, the news had spread across the station. A human was sick. A human had a fever. A human's body temperature had increased by 2 degrees above normal. Coordinator Vel received the report in his office. His blue face went pale. He immediately called an emergency meeting of the station's medical council. The meeting room was filled with doctors from 20 different species. They all looked worried. Chief Medical Officer, the tall bird-like doctor, stood at the front of the room. As you all know, said gravely, the human female named has developed a fever. Her body temperature has risen to 39 degrees Celsius, which is approximately 2 degrees above the human baseline. A wave of concerned murmurs spread through the room. I do not need to tell you what this means, continued. In almost every known species, an increase of 2 degrees in body temperature leads to catastrophic organ failure. The proteins in the body begin to break down. Brain function is severely impaired. Death follows within hours. Coordinator Vel stood up. What can we do? Is there any treatment that might save her? Shook her head slowly. I have consulted with our best specialists. No species has ever survived a temperature increase of this magnitude. The human will most likely die within the next 12 to 24 hours. The room fell silent. Many of the doctors lowered their heads in sadness. They had come to like the humans. The thought of losing one was painful. We should prepare the proper rituals, said a priest from the Order of Final Rest. Her soul should be given a proper farewell. Vel nodded sadly. I will inform the other humans. They will want to be with her in her final moments. The news reached Captain and Ambassador 1 hour later. An official delegation came to their quarters with serious faces and gentle voices. They spoke of how sorry they were. They spoke of proper funerals and memory ceremonies. And listened in confusion. I am sorry, said when the aliens finished speaking. But what exactly are you talking about? Why are you preparing funeral ceremonies? Coordinator Vel looked at her with pity in his large black eyes. For, of course, we know her fever will claim her life soon. We want to make her passing as peaceful as possible. And looked at each other. Then they both started laughing. The aliens were shocked. This was not the reaction they expected. Why would anyone laugh at such a time? Coordinator said, trying to control his laughter, has a minor fever. She is not going to die. She will probably feel better in 2 or 3 days. Vel blinked several times. That is impossible. Her temperature has risen by 2 degrees. No being can survive such a change. Humans can, said gently. In fact, this is one of the ways our bodies fight disease. When we get sick, our body temperature rises on purpose. The fever helps kill the germs that are making us sick. It is actually a good sign. It means her body is fighting. The delegation stared at the humans in disbelief. You are saying, Vel said very slowly, that humans intentionally heat their own bodies to kill diseases, that your bodies choose to reach temperatures that would kill any other species. Yes, said simply. It is called a fever. Every human has experienced many fevers in their lifetime. Children especially get fevers often. It is very common. Children, who had joined the delegation, made a sound of distress. Your children experience this, and they survive. Almost always, yes. A fever of 39 degrees is nothing to worry about. Even 40 degrees is manageable. We only become concerned if the fever goes much higher than that. Had to sit down. The bird-like doctor looked like all the medical knowledge it had learned over 50 years had suddenly become worthless. "I would like to see this for myself," Vel said. "May I visit?" Smiled, of course. She would probably like the company. They went to his room. When they entered, they found her lying in bed, wrapped in blankets. Her face was red and sweaty, but she was awake and alert. Ambassador Captain smiled weakly. "And Coordinator Vel, I am sorry I look so terrible. This fever is really annoying." Vel approached her bed very carefully, like he was approaching a dangerous animal. "How do you feel?" "Tired and achy," admitted. "But doctor says I should feel better soon. She gave me some medicine to help with the headache." Vel looked at the temperature reading on a nearby monitor. 39.2 degrees. In his species, this would mean certain death, but was sitting up and talking, complaining that her condition was merely annoying. Vel said, "I must tell you something. We thought you were dying. We came here to prepare for your funeral." His eyes went wide. Then she started to laugh, which turned into a coughing fit, which made her groan and lie back down. "Oh no," she said when she recovered. "I am so sorry you were worried. This is just a fever. I have had many fevers before. I will be fine in a few days." Vel did not know what to say. He stood there, watching this young human who was experiencing something that would kill his entire species, and she was apologizing for making them worry. True to her word, fever broke the next day. Her temperature returned to normal. She felt weak and tired, but she was clearly recovering. By the third day, she was back on her feet, walking around the station and greeting her alien friends. The medical council met again, but this time the tone was very different. "We must accept the facts," said to the assembled doctors. "Humans can survive body temperature changes that would kill any other species. They use this ability to fight disease. What we consider fatal, they consider uncomfortable." Coordinator Vel stood and addressed the council. "I have decided to officially classify humans as biological anomalies. They do not follow the rules that govern every other species we have encountered. They are something entirely new." No one argued. No one could argue. The evidence was too clear. Humans were not like other species. They were something else entirely. And the galaxy was only beginning to understand just how different they truly were. 1 month had passed since the humans first arrived at the Galactic Council station. In that short time, they had turned everything the galaxy knew about biology upside down. Stories about them had spread to every corner of known space. The stories were almost too strange to believe. Beings who could expel air at hurricane speeds. Beings whose blood could seal wounds without any help. Beings who could work for half a day without rest, powered by a poison they drank for pleasure. Beings who survived by setting their own bodies on fire from the inside. At first, many species did not believe the stories. They thought they were myths or jokes, but the evidence was impossible to deny. Videos of the sneeze incident spread across the galactic network. Medical reports about human healing abilities were published in scientific journals. Engineer became famous on dozens of worlds as the being who worked 12 hours without rest. The Galactic Council decided it was time to have a formal meeting about humans. The Great Hall was full once again. Representatives from over 300 species filled the curved seats. This was the largest gathering the Council had seen in 50 years. Everyone wanted to learn about humans. Everyone wanted to understand these impossible beings from the small blue planet. Ambassador stood in the center of the hall with her team. Captain was at her side. Behind them stood doctor, engineer, and communications officer, who had fully recovered from her fever. Coordinator Vel stood at the front of the council. His voice echoed through the hall as he spoke. "Honored representatives of the Galactic Council, We have gathered today to discuss one of the most remarkable discoveries in our history. 1 month ago, we welcomed a new species to this station. In that time, we have learned things that challenge our understanding of what is possible for living beings. He turned to look at the humans. The species called humans have demonstrated abilities that we believed were impossible. They survive events that would kill any other species. They recover from injuries without medical help. They consume toxic substances as part of their daily lives. They raise their own body temperatures to fight disease. Murmurs spread through the hall. Many representatives were hearing these details for the first time. I have consulted with our best scientists and doctors, Vel continued. They have studied the information that the humans have shared with us. Their conclusion is unanimous. Humans are, without doubt, the most physically resilient species ever recorded in the history of the Galactic Council. The hall erupted with noise. Species shouted questions. Some expressed disbelief. Others demanded more evidence. Vel raised his hand for silence. I understand your surprise. I felt the same way when I first witnessed human abilities, but I have seen these things with my own eyes. I have watched a human sneeze with the force of a storm. I have watched human blood heal a wound in minutes. I have watched a human work for 12 hours on poison and call it a good workout. I have watched a human survive a fever that would have killed any of us. He paused and looked around the hall. Humans call these things normal. They do not consider themselves special. On their world, every member of their species can do these things. What is impossible for us is everyday life for them. A representative from the species stood up. If humans are so resilient, why did we not know about them until now? Why has such a powerful species remained hidden on one small planet? Stepped forward to answer, "May I speak?" Vel nodded. "Thank you, Coordinator," faced the council. "We were not hidden, we were alone. For most of our history, humans did not know that other species existed. We looked at the stars and wondered if anyone was out there. We built ships and sent signals into space, hoping someone would answer. When your signal finally reached us, we were overjoyed. We were not trying to hide. We were waiting to be found." The representative sat down, looking thoughtful. Another representative spoke up, this one from a species covered in hard shells. "If humans are so powerful, why should we trust them? Perhaps they will use their abilities to conquer us." Stepped forward. "I understand your fear. If I learned that a species could survive things that killed my people, I would be afraid too. But we did not come here to conquer anyone. We came here to learn. We came here to make friends. We came here because we were lonely and we hoped we would not have to be lonely anymore." His words hung in the air. The hall was quiet. The youngest of the team raised her hand. "May I say something?" Vel nodded. Stepped forward. She still looked a little pale from her recent illness, but her eyes were bright with emotion. "I know we seem scary to you," she said. "I know our bodies do things that your bodies cannot do, but we are not so different inside. We feel fear. We feel love. We feel hope and sadness and joy. We look at the stars and feel wonder just like you do. We want to understand the universe and find our place in it just like you do." She looked around the hall at the hundreds of alien faces watching her. "Yes, our bodies are strange, but our hearts are the same. We want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. We want to help. We want to be your friends if you will let us." The hall was silent for a long moment. Then slowly, something remarkable happened. Coordinator Vel began to clap his four-fingered hands together. The sound was soft at first, but it grew louder. Then other aliens joined him. Species who had no hands found other ways to make noise. Soon, the entire hall was filled with the sound of 300 species expressing their approval. When the noise died down, Vel spoke again. "I have a proposal for the Council. I propose that we offer humanity full membership in the Galactic Council, not as observers, not as guests, as full partners with all the rights and responsibilities that come with membership." This was unprecedented. New species usually spent decades as observers before being considered for full membership, but Vel was not finished. I make this proposal not because humans are strong. I make this proposal because humans have shown us something important. They have shown us that there is more to the universe than we understood. They have expanded our knowledge of what life can be. A species that can teach us so much deserves a place at our table. The vote was called. Representative after representative voted in favor. When the final count was announced, humanity had been accepted into the Galactic Council by a margin of 294 to 6. The humans were no longer visitors. They were members of the galactic community. Later that night, there was a celebration. Aliens and humans mingled together, sharing food and drinks and stories. Ambassador found herself standing next to Coordinator Vel on a balcony overlooking the station. Coordinator said, "May I ask you something?" "Of course." "When we first arrived, you treated us like fragile creatures. You were worried we might break. Now, 1 month later, you have helped us become full members of the Council. What changed?" Vel thought about the question for a long moment. His large black eyes reflected the light of distant stars. "When I first saw humans," he said, "I saw small, soft beings with no armor, no claws, no natural weapons. I thought the universe must be gentle where you come from. I thought you must have evolved on a peaceful world where nothing could hurt you." He turned to look at. "But then I learned the truth. Your world is not gentle. It is full of dangers. Disease, injury, exhaustion, extreme temperatures, and yet humans survive. Not because your world protects you, but because your bodies refuse to give up. You face everything your world throws at you and you keep going." He placed a hand on shoulder. "That is not fragility, Ambassador. That is strength. Not the strength of weapons or armor, but the strength of survival. The strength of beings who have learned to endure anything." Smiled, "We call it being human." Vel nodded, "And now the galaxy knows what that means." They stood together in silence, watching the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, a small blue planet full of impossible beings who refused to stay down no matter what the universe threw at them. Humanity had found its place among the stars, and the galaxy would never be the same.